Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. And when you watch this, hello, Gossie, how are you? I hope you've had a good day. Welcome, 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 everybody. This is day 4 of 5, where we're talking extra seats for women. And it's really, really exciting. Yes, Kosi, we are live. Good evening from Abuja. Well, good evening from the seat of power. Hi, Bukola. We have our guest in the house. Awesome. Really good to have everyone here. Thank you so much for joining us on day 1, day 2, day 3, and now day 4. It has been so interesting having all the amazing guests who have come to share their knowledge and their wisdom with us around the reserved seats bill. I'm going to bring Bukola on shortly, but before I bring him, let's just do a recap of yesterday. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone who's joining. My name is Abosede Jojokan, and I'm the founder of Women in Leadership Advancement Network, WILLEN. And, over the last, 4 days, we've been doing this live series where we're talking about the extra seats bill. And we've learned so much. So yesterday, we had with us Cynthia Mbamalu. Cynthia is the director of programs at Yaga Africa. And I mean, she took us to school and back. Yes. Thanks for the love. And so I wanted to share five things that we learned from Cynthia yesterday. So the first thing that we learned was that the reserve seats bill represents democracy. It represents an affirmation of power, of the power of advocacy. And of course, it represents hope. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that indicators show that governance issues are actually better assessed when women are involved in the decision-making process. Don't we know this already? Welcome to everyone who's just joining us. We're just going through the lessons that we learned yesterday. The third lesson that we learned from Cynthia is that economic gains of achieving gender parity in Nigeria is projected to be in trillions of naira. That's like something that can connect all of us. The fact that, look, Nigeria will be richer and therefore we as Nigerians will be richer. Is that not enough reason? In addition to that the bill will improve Nigeria's image in the Committee of Nations. We're doing really, really badly right now. And then finally, the bill when signed, did you hear that? When, not if. We're claiming it, will actually cause a direct increase in women's political representation across all the states. So nobody will be left out. No state will be left out at the state legislature and also at the House. Fantastic. Oh my gosh, Gussie, you're doing an amazing job. Well, thank you. So let me bring on our guest right now. Really, really great to have you here. Joining us today is Bukola Idowu. Bukola has been an ally for such a long time. Really a he for she. Hi, Bukola. We're going to need you to turn your... Yes, perfect.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
Great.
And you?
What part of Nigeria are you?
I think I came to Oshun in preparation for the elections. I think
really, really good to have you here with us today. Bukola is the team lead for an organization called Kimpact Development Initiative, also known as KDI. Bukola knows this. I'm a fan of the work that he and his team do. They really add value to the ecosystem, by bringing a lot of data and useful information. So, Bukola, it's really exciting to have you here this evening with us. You're the first male guest on our show, and I'm really excited that, people can see that they're actually allies, male allies, that, are supporting the bill as well. I think that that's really powerful for people to see. So thank you so much for being here. Before we go
Thank
further,
you so much for having me.
great. Before we go further, for those people who have joined us, remember that this is going to be very interactive. So if you have any comments, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. But I also thought that it was important for us to acknowledge what's going on in the world. It's one of those days, isn't it, Bukola? There's obviously, the world right now, we can only wish for the best. Pray that the institutions actually sort of come into here. But I think it also just re-emphasizes the importance of leadership and inclusive leadership, and just having the right people at the table. In addition to that, I also wanted to acknowledge some of the difficulties that are currently going on in Nigeria. I thought this was important because my team and I had a sort of exchange today where they were talking about how difficult it is to get fuel, how difficult it is to charge their devices to get their work done, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I wonder how many people across the country are actually having these difficulties. So, I just thought it was important to acknowledge that, and just to say that even conversations like this, is why we should be having it, so that in 2023, we just don't go and vote, what, show up and vote, but that we think through a leader that's actually going to represent us and that's going to do right by the citizens of this country. Bukola, I don't know if you wanted to respond to that before we dive in.
Thank you, Abosede. I think that's, you just nail it on the head. The whole situation rests on leadership. And in 2023, we just must vote right. It's not just about participation. We must participate in a rightful manner. And whether we like it or not, there's going to be a change in leadership. But we need to get the right person there. You see, we need to change the narrative. Nigeria is blessed with a lot of talent, a lot of brains, a lot of potential. Now, what we need to do now and what we need to look for now is to make sure the best of us are ruling the rest of us. The worst of us should not rule the rest of us. So we need to change that narrative. Whether fuel issue, power issue, security issue, is all about leadership. And that is why we are also even having this conversation. Probably things are going to change if you have more women in political position. So we need to begin to look at this. And I like this note we are starting. 2023 is not just about participation. You must participate right and vote right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that I wanted to start with from your perspective is, I know that you and your team sit on a lot of data. And around these issues, one of the things that we find is there's just not enough data out there, and people are just not knowledgeable. And that's why, one of the reasons why we said at Willem, you know what, let's not assume that people know about the reserved seats bill. Let's not assume that people know that, history is about to be made. Let's create space for us to have this conversation. So I know that you and your team have a lot of data. You worked in Anambra, you worked in different parts of the country. What does the data tell you about women's representation, how women get elected, if they get elected? Before we started diving into the bill and all of that, what does the data tell you?
Well, the data is not looking good at all, and I take it from the from the state level. Let's even start at the state level. In Nigeria, in all the states, we have close to yes, I think, to be specific, we have like 21 states presently that doesn't have women as commissioners. That is even appointive, not elective. 21
And
states, no
Bukola,
commissioner.
to rate this because people will watch this and there are amazing people joining us now. That there is a state in this country where a man is actually the commissioner for women affairs. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yes, we have that in the northern part of the country. We just don't want to mention the name of the state, but that is to tell you that that is the least we can do by appointing, women into the elective position. And even at appointing, we have 21 states with no commissioner, female commissioner. And that is worrying. So, and when you now come down, I think the data look good at the local government level. There are states like Kogi and River State that mandated all the chairmen of committee of local government that their deputy must be women. So that we have that. I think that looks better in some states. That is mandatory. However, when you look at other states, we don't even have women at all contesting, not to talk of being the deputy. So they don't even, so the data is not really looking good. But let's now come into the State House of Assembly. This is where voting starts. This is where participation, election starts at that State House of Assembly. That is visible. Of course, there are councillors, there are local governments, they can vote at that level. But this one that is visible, let's look at the data. Now, it will surprise you that in 1999, out of 990 seats in the State House of Assembly, 990 seats. So when I say 990 seats, you look at all the State House of Assembly, the seats available in 36 states is 996 seats. So for instance, Osun have 26, Ekiti have 18, and then just like that. So we have 990. Now in 1999, we only have 12 women elected into that 990 seats. So you can do the percentage. Now in 2023, there was an upsurge. It moved to 38. In 2003, rather. In 2003, it moved to 38. Now, in 2007, it moved to 54. So we are progressing. And then in 2011, that was when we reached our peak as a nation. And that was 57. So we only added 4 from previous election, from previous election, 2007. So by 2011, we only added 4 to make 57. Now, what we expect that there's supposed to be an increase, probably we should be moving to 70, 80. But in 2015, we came down to 46 out of 990 seats. Now, in 2019, where we are now, we are less with 1. So the total number of women in the State House of Assembly now is 45. So when you look at it, we don't even have up to 10%. We are not even up to 5%. So that is worrisome. So let's go to House of Assembly. House of Assembly, National House of Assembly. Let me start from House of Representatives. In 1999, we have 12 out of 360 seats. In 2003, we have 23 out of 360. In 2007, we have 27. That was the peak. But in 2011, we have 23. 2015, we have 22. And presently in 2019, we have 14 out of 360. Now, in the Senate, in 1999, we only have 3 out of 109. In 2003, 4 was elected out of 109. In 2007, we have 9. That was the highest, 2007. In 2011, it came down to 6 women in the Senate. In 2015, we had 8, and presently we had 8. So what does that tell us is that, of course, I just wish I could share my screen. You will have seen the graph going up and coming down, and then just stable now. So that is exactly what we have. And this, what does that tell us? Presently in Nigeria, the population of the women, we have like 49%. 49%. And then when you look at that, compare it with the people in elective position, you can't, the variance is wide. So in terms of participation, and let me say this, when you look at democracy, one of the major features of democracy is that it's about participation. Take participation out of democracy, you have it's no longer democracy. So it's now become government of the few, for the few, and by the few. But when it's democracy, it's government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So as a matter of fact, we should not be having less than, and I must say, we should not be having less than 50% women in all those elected offices. Looking at the population of women, we should not have less than. That is even good. Let's go into the ministerial appointment. Presently, women is like about 12% in the cabinet of Mr. President. So that tells us that we are not even reaching 35%. When we keep talking about 35% affirmative action, we are not even meeting that 35%. And if you are even meeting the 35% quota, we will say, oh, technically we are doing well. But I can tell you, in Africa, we are not really doing well at all. That is even in Africa, not even in the world. We are not even doing well as a country with that huge population, you know, of over 200 million. And that is what the data is saying. Now, when you now come to the reserve seat, this is one thing the reserve seat is tend to correct.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you so much, Bukola. I knew that you would have the data handy. For those who, gossips like this is disheartening. She asked the question, is it competence? What is the issue? Is it lack of interest? What is the root cause of inclusion, in your opinion and from your experience? So, let's talk a little bit about that, but I would encourage everyone who's joining us maybe for the first time on day 4 of this 5-part series to please go back and watch day 1, day 2, day 3. To be honest, there's elaborate sort of insight as to what the real issues are and why the reserved seat bill, this extra seats bill, is really the tool, the mechanism to start to course correct. Because if we don't do it, oh no, let's not even do that. So Carl, I'm going to let you respond to that. Gossi wants to know, in your opinion, what is the root cause of this lack of inclusion?
I think number one is there is no level playing field, both for women, the way they enjoy, the way the men enjoy some of the, I think some of the freebies of politics. Women don't have that kind of level playing field in most cases. And don't also forget the sentiment, religious sentiment, cultural sentiment, which are wrong actually. When we talk about religious sentiment, I keep telling people erroneous religious sentiment to say, oh, women are not allowed to come into leadership position, both in Christian and in the Muslim community. No, if you go back to history, it even culturally it was not like that. Let's even start from the northern part of the country. Now, in the northern part of the country, when you go to Zaria, go back to the history, you will hear about Amina of Zaza. This was a woman. In terms of capacity, don't let us talk about capacity. Capacity is there. You know, they have the capacity. So when a woman is leading men to war and conquering territory, you can't doubt that capacity. Now come back to the south, to the Yoruba region. You talk about Efun Shetan Aniwura. You talked about Iyalo Diegba. You talked about a whole lot of them who had that capacity and they used this capacity. Now, don't also forget there is no in the south, in the Yoruba region, no king can rule successfully. No king. Yeah, and I'm saying that I deliberately chose that word. No king can rule successfully without the position of Iyalode. Iyalode happens to be the backbone of any king to talk. And again, you also look at the position of Iyaloja, and these are the people. And when you go back to history, you find out that women participation has been on the increase suddenly. Probably they are looking at the capacity of the women and say, oh, let's just do something to bring these people or cage this set of people. When you talk about women riots, now it's not about the riot, it's about demonstration, protesting against illegal taxation. They did not even riot, they did not even destroy anything, but they mobilized themselves and said, no, enough is enough about double taxation, illegal taxation. So it was the colonial master that are now apply force, like we've been having. So these people organized, the women organized and said, oh, enough is enough. So in terms of capacity, the women have it. So it is not this narrative of saying, oh, women don't have the capacity. They have the capacity. And you cannot also, you see, I keep telling people that the formula for experience is this. Experience is simply activity plus time is equal to experience. That is, whatever you are doing, the activity you are doing in relation to time is equal to your experience. For instance, now, if I'm a development worker, if I am a trainer, that is an activity. I keep training people. For how long have I been doing it? Oh, for 5 years. You can say I have 5 years experience. So if you don't give them the opportunity, you cannot judge their capacity. So it is when they have the opportunity, that is where you cannot talk about, oh, they have capacity. And I must tell you, look at the statistics. Ministries that have women as leaders, portfolios that have women as leaders, they have done extremely well. The data is out there, the research is out there. You look at the COVID experience, they have done, that research shows that countries that women are the aims of affair and they are able to respond better than their male counterparts in terms of COVID response, then emergency response then. And this is what we are talking about. So the capacity is there, but the system is technically hedging them out. And there is an aspect people need to understand. You see, when you, I think it was a research conducted about the psychological response to what you do to people in a long time. So people tend to have that mentality that, no, this is where it has always been. So even if that barrier has been removed, that is where it has always been. And I give you, I think you remember when that experiment, I think it was one psychologist that performed that experiment, tied a horse to a particular tree. And for longer time, the horse knew that, no, the moment I'm tied down, I can't move. I can't move. So he looks at the psychological connection between the rope on his neck and the tree is tied to. So when you try to move, he can't move. When you try to move, over the time, he just accepts that, no, anytime there is a rope on my neck and then that is tied to something, I can't move. It's automatic. So now when they remove the rope and tie the horse to a chair, just chair that He has the capacity to just move. But he did not try to move because he saw the rope and is psychologically, it just came upon him that, look, I have been tied and I can't move. Though he has the power to move. So, and that is what is happening again in Nigeria. Because over the years, women now begin to say, oh, I think we are good enough for mobilization. The only thing we are good to have in the party hierarchy is women leader. And they fight for that and they accept that. And in some party where women did not come out, they even give the position to men. So so what we are talking about now is they have the capacity and women now need to come out. They can compete with any male anywhere. I don't doubt the capacity of women leading this country. They have that capacity. They can be the commander-in-chief. They can be Madam President. And we are going to have tremendous improvement in our economy in almost all the sector. I can tell you that for free. So what we only need to do is to remove some of the political barriers. One, in that women are not adequately represented as delegates, where you have indirect primaries. That is one barrier. So you look at the delegate to party primaries, you hardly can't, I mean, you only have a handful of women. So what does that mean? So even where women want to support women, they don't even have the number at that delegate level. That is another challenge. And again, you find out that at the party hierarchy, they are deliberately disenfranchised. So in the sense that you have like about 34 national executive in a party, and you only have 2 women, probably welfare director and women leader. What can they do in terms of voting? And when you also look at their position, they just feel like, oh, they are just good for mobilization. And it's not only the women, it's also the same thing happening to the young people, the youth. So they just feel like they are good enough to dance, to campaign during the party, to dance around in the campaign ground during the campaign activity. But we need to begin to put them in position. And what we need to do to first of all, the first barrier to remove is constitutional barrier. And that is so that there can be a level playing field. See, and I keep saying it, there is a way this thing technically affects us. We don't know. And psychologically, it affects us. Now, let me cite an example. When you say there is fraud, when you say there is fraud and there is, probably cyber fraud. Now, instead of the police to respond, one of the things we will do is, I think we need to create a anti-cyber fraud commission. So you create that agency, you create that commission. One thing you have done is to say, hey, this thing is going to live with us for a long time. Let's create an agency that will combat it on a longer time. So that alone is saying, hey, those agencies must have work to do. But in the actual sense, you have created a psychological, a bit of analysis like that say this thing has come like a block that it has come to stay. So now what do we need to do now is, if most of this barrier, and let me link that to constitution. When you have a constitution as we have it, Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, you know that there is the constitution doesn't even have a gender sensitive language. It's all about he. You can't find she. You can't find her. You can't even find so it's not gender friendly. Everything you have is he, him, the chairman, not chairperson, the chairman. He will ensure, he shall. And that is what you have in the constitution. And that's what I'm trying to say. That is already a psychological block to say women are not reckoned with, even from the constitution. So what we need to do is to even bring them in so that they can also have a legal backing to say, hey, the constitution say he or she And then we can come into the space from that angle. But when the constitution already say he shall, no. Let's have he or she, him or her, and then when you have a gender inclusive language in our constitution, the space is going to be thrown open. Like we did for Not Too Young to Run. Just first of all, reduce the constitutional barrier, remove the constitutional barrier, and let's have young people coming to vote. So these are the things we are talking about. And when you are able to open the space in this area, and I'm very sure more women will begin to come out. They have the capacity. They have the content. Nobody can tell us they don't have that. They have the capacity. They have the content. At least at the UN level, we have seen our women taken from Nigeria, from the northern part of the country. We have seen the World Trade Organization taken from Nigeria, from the eastern part of the country. And we have also seen women from the western part of the country. So it cuts across. The capacity is there. Even go to companies. Let's go even into the private sector. Look at organization, banks, international organization, national organization that women are heading. You will see tremendous growth in the company growth and in terms of governance, in terms of performance. And again, statistics also shows that 60% of the local economy are being driven by women entrepreneurs. Women entrepreneurs are being driven by women entrepreneurs. Now, when you look at what was done in I think it is in Bangladesh, where the man, I think I can't remember the name, started like a loan to the women at the grassroots level. Look, yes. Thank you very much. Look at what they have been able to do with those little resources. It shows that if women have the opportunity and the resources, they will do wonder. And I'm still going to come to the cost of this. Of this, we have done our research, and I'm still going to come to that. But let me stop here. Maybe I can entertain other questions.
Wow, I don't know if you've been reading the chat and if you've been following it, but Bukola, you are giving us on speaking. Thank you so much for your passion. You know, I'm sure maybe at the beginning, for those of us who have been with us from the beginning, when I said, oh, he's a he for she, he's a male ally, they'd be like, we know, okay. But I mean, this is the passion I know that you have and you've had for many years, because like I said, you have been my ally. So I really, really appreciate you sharing. And you're not just talking, you're talking based on facts and what you know, right? And like I said, I just wish more people know this. And I see Max, it was like, you know, more people should watch this. And that's why we thought it was important to have this conversation. So Bukola, let's now go to the bill. So to your point, there have been, you know, multiple assemblies since 1999 when we became a democratic nation. This bill is being championed, and that's actually very significant because I actually haven't mentioned it since we started having this series on Monday. This bill is being championed by the Right Honorable Nkiru Onyeji-Ocha alongside the Speaker and other members of the House. But she, as the main champion of this bill, has been in the Assembly for how many years? 16 years, for 4 cycles. And why this is important is she has seen them throw out all the affirmative action bills that came, right, for 35%. Because the question is, okay, this meat that is 100%, whose 35% do you want to take? Who do you want to go home? Which man? Right? Because it's majority men. That place is, you know, Cynthia told us she was there yesterday, you know, with the First Lady and all the women who went, you know, obviously to show support for this bill. And she looked around and they're just men. You know, I like the way she put it. You see Agbada and Fila. You don't see Gele. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you know, it's just not representative. Okay? So she's been there. She's seen them throw these proposals out, and she's convinced that, look, the way to do this thing is to create additional seats right? Because even the parties will have no choice. Because to a point, I think I can't remember who made, women aspire. You know, you can aspire to run, but how many women become candidates and actually get on the ballots, right? So it is so important, right, that this bill will create space, and it's only women that can run for that seat. So party A bring woman, party B bring woman, C bring woman. You know, so for you, what does this bill mean to you?
Thank you very much, Abosede. I think this bill, the first time I heard about it and I heard what that the bill, I think I was so happy. I was so happy. And because this is a bill that is going to change the political landscape in the country. This is a bill that is going to change the inclusion landscape in the country. And this is also a bill that is going to put us in a position of honor within the international community. We don't presently have that. And I think Cynthia said yesterday that, of course, that it's about our image. So this bill is going to change a lot. You know, a country that is not engendered is endangered. You can't, I already talked about participation. We can't leave 49% of population, we can't exclude them. 49%, you can't exclude them. Even in the voter register, you find out that they have block votes. They are forced to be reckoned with. Now, what does this bill mean to me? It means that, look, the moment this bill came through, and one political party, we by law reserve space and constituency for women to contest. So what it means is that you are not going to feed any man in that particular constituency. Now, it is not that a particular political party will not feed a man in that. It is all the, now we have 18 political parties. So what it means is that if in all the 36 states, if it is, let me just use senatorial zone now, if it is in the western senatorial zone that they've designated for women, all the 18 political parties, we have to bring out women. So we have in that senatorial zone 18 women contesting. Look at that, is amazing. 18 women contesting. So, and again, one good thing about this bill is this, Abosede, the bill also say, apart from the constituency you are contesting for, the women also have the right to come to the main constituency to also slug it out and then compete. So it means, look, wow, the space is open. Let them compete. However, what it means is that across the nation, we are going to have 219 women in all the legislative seats across the country. 219, massive. Women of character, women of competence. Coming, 219. You can imagine the level of the quality of legislation we are going to have. So it's not going to be one-sided. So it's going to also have feminine angle, the masculine angle. It's going to be a balanced conversation. So when you are looking at it from this side, you are looking at it from this side. And again, you know, we did. I think, let me just quickly bring this out. Yes, we have close to I think to be precise, 49 bills, gender bills related to women, 49 that has been sent to the National Assembly from 1999, and nothing has been done. We only have 3 bills, no, I think 1.9 1.9% attended to. 49. And let me tell you, this 49 is not about 49Bs. It's not about women alone. Part of it address the issue of maternal mortality, sponsored by women. Part of them about infant mortality. Part of them is about welfareism. So when you now have 49 sitting down because the women doesn't have the number to vote, and what it means, don't even look at it. Look at the content of the bill and the benefit of the bill to the society. So they are sitting down there now. They are going to have more numbers to vote. And this bill is not, like I said, maternal mortality. I have a wife. So, I mean, it cut across. Infant mortality, every one of us. It affects everybody. It's not like about the men. So we have that 49 sitting, 49B sitting, and which we hope is going to, I mean, of course, quality of that legislation. And that bill, 49, I told you, is at the National Assembly, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. We've not even talked about the states. States, we have close to 159. I'm talking from data, 159 gender-sensitive bill, gender benefit bills that are sitting in State House of Assembly, 159 across the country. The one that are addressing the children, the one that are addressing female, or even on female genital mutilation. There are some states that have not even passed the VAP Act. They have not domesticated the VAP Act. All these things, do you know they are interest of the women? And what it means is that they don't even have numbers. For instance, in some states, they don't even have women in the house. So how would they understand VAP Act to even domesticate it? And these are the balance this bill will come in. So even in the National Assembly, we are going to have 111, maybe 39, 37 at the Senate, and then 74 at the House of Representatives. And then at the state level, we are going to have 108. So 33 from each of the states. So it means a lot. It means, look, we are now going to begin to have quality representation. Let me just go to, let me just go to the cost, and then you will be astonished about what the data is saying. UNDP released a data and said sub-Saharan Africa, we are losing $95 billion because of lack of inclusion, gender inclusion. $95 billion, sub-Saharan Africa. My team, we went to start doing research, depth research, begin to dig deep. Abba said, you need to see this. Let me just read it. $95 billion annual economic losses to sub-Saharan Africa due to gender gap in the labor market. Now, out of this 95 billion, we discovered that 9% of it, 9% of that 95 billion, which is equal to $8.5 billion, is what Nigeria is losing annually. Annually, we dig deep, we discover. It's all, people can Google this. We discover Nigeria is losing 9% out of the 95 billion UNDP released annually. So when Nigeria as a nation today, we are losing 8.5 billion. About that, we can solve our power problem. We can solve our refinery problem annually. So multiply that in 4 years.
Wow.
Multiply that in 7 years.
What?
Okay, so I think that is what we are losing from that. And then Plaque did a very wonderful job showing us what is going to cost. And what they came up with, that is going to cost 18 billion annually if we had additional seats. 18 billion. So come again, I didn't get that.
No, I said I was just reiterating what you said. Annually.
Annually, yes. About said that we went through, I think we developed a framework, the United States Bureau of Conflict Stabilization. We worked with them last year, and we conducted the research. It was robust, and it was launched globally. You can just Google it, WPSI, Bureau of Conflict Stabilization. Now, one of the things we discover, Abosede, that billions of dollars are being lost every year because women are excluded from peace initiative. So they were not included in most of the community peace initiative. Is the men. They talked about the religious leaders. They talked about the traditional leaders. They talked about the influential people in the society. They exclude women. And statistics shows that by the time they broke that down, that when women are involved in peace building, they look at the percentage of what nations will be gaining. Abosede, in Nigeria, when we took the percentage to Nigeria, we discovered that in our defense spending alone, defense spending, that is the budget of Ministry of Defense.
Yes.
We will save annually 66.4 billion if we include women in most of these positions. So now what it means is that when women are put, Nigerian could save 66.4 billion annually from our defense spending. And what that translates to in 4 years, Abosede, is 265.6 billion in 4 years that we will save if women are represented at the ends of affairs. So when people start talking about cost, they said it's going to cost us 18 billion, but we will save 66 billion annually. So as a good entrepreneur, as a good economist, what will you go for? You either want to spend 18 billion to make 66 billion. So and I think any board of director, we clap for the MD. We clap for that is just it. We need to put number to it. So if you are looking at remuneration, that is going to cost us 18 billion. But from our defense spending alone, when women are involved, we will save 66.4 billion annually from our defense spending. So Abosede, we've not even talked about Ministry of Finance budget. We've not even talked about what we are going to save from Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, what we are going to gain in most of these places. We've not even talked about what we are going to gain from other sectors of the economy. From defense alone, how much we are spending on defense, Boko Haram, insurgency, and the rest. We are going to save this. So it makes both political sense,
economic,
legislative sense,
yes,
economic sense to go the way of this reserve bill.
Wow. Again, Bukola, you brought the data, you brought the facts, and I hope that everyone who's listening will go back and be a champion and an ambassador for this bill, because honestly speaking, over the last 4 days, we have so much information, useful data as to the benefits, and I say that the cost of exclusion is incomparable to the additional cost for the extra seats. It's incomparable. So I'm mindful that we have like 11 more minutes to go, Bukola. So 2023 is in the horizon, right? And this bill will be passed, because we cannot afford for this bill not to be passed. Not with everything we've heard,
We cannot.
We cannot afford it. It's too expensive for us not to pass this bill. So, what is your outlook on 2023, and what can women start to do, especially when this bill is passed? And like you said, a significant barrier would have been taken away. And of course, one of the things that you shared with us today that I think is really powerful is this idea of your mental model, right? And it's actually corroborated further by research that actually says that the more people see women in leadership of power, in positions of leadership and power, the more they will believe that women should be there. But for now, enough people haven't seen it, right, to believe that it is the norm, right, that it is normal, right? So it's also important that we start to think about how are we going to start changing people's minds, that when you see a ballot, right, the one that is only women, where you have to choose one woman, but the one that is women and men, that you can also choose a woman. But just the general mindset of people that look, oh, women are now on the ballot and you have to vote women. So what's your outlook on 2023? What should women be doing, and how can the citizens support to ensure that we really get to that point where we have additional seats, but also increase women's political representation?
Abosede, before I answer that question, I want to make a prediction. I want to make a prediction. I can tell you by the time this is practiced in 2 election cycles, I can foresee that the men, the citizens, will even be asking that they should give women more, they should increase that quota. I'm making that prediction. Because you will have seen what will have. Now, because even in election, you will find that in the constituency where women were campaigning, you are not likely going to see that kind of bitterness you see among the men with a lot of thugs around. Women are not likely going to go and bring somebody else's son, because they know they also have son and daughter, to go and be burning tires. So you are likely going to begin to see friendly competition.
Yes.
Which citizen we want men to emulate?
Yes.
Again, another thing you are likely going to see, because you are going to see a situation where even they will meet themselves, probably on the campaign ground, and it become merriment. It's going to be a contest of idea, and that is what women begin. Contest of idea, not about personality. They begin to address issues and what they are going to do. And I'm also going to see, we are likely going to see sportsmanship. You will be seeing women congratulating the other women that won. So you are likely going to begin to see citizens telling the political class, go and learn from the women, go and learn from the women. I think we need more. Then lastly, we are going to see more peaceful election in those regions. We are likely going to see more peaceful election in those regions, because I'm already seeing more women looking at their party agent, their polling agent to be women. So which is also not going to be, so they are going to have more women. So we are not likely going to have the traditional violence you see at the polling unit. Having said that, so this we are going to have is going to change the political landscape. But having said that, what do you need? What do we think women should start doing now? Organizing. Organizing. Within political parties, they need to start organizing. And see, somebody said you cannot make first impression twice. First impression is always first impression. They need to organize now, that as soon as this bill is passed and as we get into 2023, we need to put our best forward. That is the first impression. We have to organize. Best must be put forward within the political party. Secondly, women need to begin to organize, and my fellow civil society need to begin to encourage women to go and begin to register and join political parties. That, because at times there has always been question of, okay, we are ready, where are the women? So we are ready, where are the women? So they need to now go and begin to join political parties. Now that one barrier will have been removed, they can now have their meeting and say, this is our, they can do their own primaries. They can decide, because this is their own election. So they can decide that we are not, within our party, we are not going to have our meeting in the midnight.
Exactly.
We will have it 2 p.m.
afternoon.
So, but yes, so they can't do that if they are not in that political party. So we need to begin to organize now. Women need to begin to organize and begin to join political party. And another thing, Abba said, my prediction again is this. Another thing this is going to do is going to break the monopoly of the two giant political parties. So because somebody cannot come from a woman, so we are likely going to see more political party representation in the House of Assembly. So these are what we are going to see. And then, but we need women to start organizing now within their political party. 2, we need more women to go and be joining political parties. And then when we get to the election time, more women will need to now start advocacy. More women need to come out and vote this time around. And when that order is crossed, your organization is doing excellently. You know, as you are our allies, I mean, as we are your ally, you are also our ally, and we can testify to amazing work you are doing. Yeah. At this particular point in time, we need another phase of capacity development for people that will have won that election, even before the election, in terms of campaign methodology, issue-based campaign, raising funds, crowdfunding, and a whole lot of developing campaign messages. We need organization like yourself, like you have been championing. We need organization like that to come out, develop the capacity of the women in that particular area. And again, when eventually they want that seat, we need that capacity development so that when in 4 years, even after 2 years, my organization and the rest want to come and begin to do analysis of quality of bees. We need to begin to now compare the quality of bees brought forth by the women and the men. And we need to begin to see the impact in economy. You know, we need to begin to see how the legislative house is doing. So, but we will need civil society like yours to also champion that aspect. And I think this is the way to go.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Bukola. Thank you for your generosity in sharing the data. You know, people will not believe that we didn't have a conversation about, oh, I want you to share data, but I knew, because like I always tell you, that is something that your organization adds to the ecosystem of this work that we do in governance. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your commitment and the work that you do. Thank you for being an ally, you know, on this journey. And, you know, honestly speaking, what I'm hoping for, and I cannot wait, is when the bill passes and we look back on all these conversations, you know, and start to reminisce on what we saw. I mean, this idea that the landscape, the entire political landscape, could transform is really, really one that is heartwarming. And I think the last point you raised is, you know, for people who want to serve, you know, it's like a value chain, right? It would also create a new value chain of women mobilizers, which is a role they've also always played, but, you know, in a different way, you know, for women canvassers, for women fundraisers, for women political strategists, for women campaign heads. So there's a whole value chain, right, of participation and representation, that I think that this will
it's really opening up the space. It's really opening up the space.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Bukola. We're on the hour. For everyone who joined us, thank you so much for being here. This was day 4 of 5. You don't want to miss tomorrow, because actually tomorrow the speaker is potentially you. We want to leave tomorrow open to just talk about everything that we've learned. The last 4 days have been super packed, super insightful, and we just want to spend tomorrow really asking ourselves, okay, what next? What can we do? And clarifying any areas that you still find are gray, because we want you to go away and be the champions. But thank you so much, Bukola, and thank you, everyone. Have a lovely, lovely evening, and look out for the video. We'll post it. Tell somebody to rewatch this, because it will be really important. Thank you, Bukola. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. I'm grateful. Bye.
Bye.